born and bred Jamal Mashburn.
I'm the man, yeah, you know it.
Mashburn can't seem to miss. Wow. Mash has his way anyway.
Flex on the mall. I'm the man.
Oh, that's right. An NBA All-Star, 11 seasons in the league. Jamal Mashburn joining us now. Jamal, we got to start right off the bat because the nickname Monster Mash. I love nickname origin stories because some people give them to themselves and others are assigned. So there are two different stories. One, that you got it playing in Harlem. The other option, though, is something to do with Dickie V. So where did it come from?
Well, I know Sweet Lou can attest to this because he has the best nickname in my opinion, you know. So I will go with Sweet Lou on that one. But for me, it actually started in Harlem. But as you know, when you get to ESPN, other people want to take credit for it. So that's what Dick Vitale did. It actually started when I was a sophomore in high school and I was playing in the tournament. And I think it was I forgot where it was at up in Harlem, and the guy on the microphone was just chatting and say Monster Mash, and then the next day a reporter in the Daily News ran that as a caption, and it just stuck from there. And then went to University of Kentucky, they would play that Monster Mash Halloween song and all these different things, and it just rolled from there.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah,
Mash, I gotta tell you this. I gotta tell you this story. So I was supposed to play in the RUCKER 4 different times, and every single time I flew in New York to play in the RUCKER, it rained. So I don't think it was meant to be for me to ever play in the RUCKER. I tried 4 different occasions, and it rained 4. You being a Harlem guy playing in the RUCKER, man, you gotta give me a great story about those days.
Well, you know what, Lou? For me, I grew up right across the street from Rucker Park. So it wasn't actually a treat for me to play in the Rucker. I grew up watching, you know, when it was a pro-am at the end of the day, and it wasn't the EBC Classic, which it turned into. You would go in there and watch pros like Mark Jackson, Ed Pickney, and those guys. And I really played before them when they would have pickup games and different things like that. And then when I got a chance to play in the RUCKER, it was a phenomenal experience. It was different. You had the guy on the microphone. You know, every time you do something great, they give you a nickname. Even though I already had a nickname, they kind of just piggyback off the Monster Mash. And being a kid from Harlem, it was a special place to play. A lot of tradition. I'm surprised when you were going up there and they had those rainy days, they didn't have a rain out site. It usually was the Gaucho Gym. And I know Vince Carter played in the Gaucho Gym. So I know you retired now, my friend. We don't need you in Rucker Park. You just come be a witness to
it. Yeah, that's done. That's out.
Yeah.
By the way, call me crazy, but I think the Rucker Park rims are a little bit low, Mash. I remember I played there one time, and I was banging easy out there, and I was like, do I got more juice, or this rim slightly low?
So let me tell you a little secret about that. You're actually correct. The basket that was closest to the street was actually lower and is actually built on a slope. You know what I mean? So it goes downhill a little bit. So you're actually right. It was a little bit lower. And I remember back in the day, everybody used to go over there because they had the snack back rims and everything like that. And they were lower. So you get a chance to dunk on them before you can actually dunk on a 10-foot rim. So you're actually right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Right. Yeah. Mash, you played not in one of the craziest college basketball games. Some people say it's the best game where Leitner hit the shot. Yeah. Looking back on that, can you appreciate that game, or does it still just piss you off seeing the clips?
It comes around every March. You know, I can set my watch to when people start asking me about that game. You know, I was fortunate enough to participate in it, and I think it was the best college game that was ever played, and I think a lot of people agree with me on that. Even though there was a winner and a loser, people got to remember Duke back then was the Chicago Bulls of the Michael Jordan era. I mean, they were a traveling rock star show with Bobby Hurley, Grant Hill, Christian Laettner, just to name a few. And Kentucky was coming off of probation at that particular time. And it was our first time in the tournament, so nobody expected a lot of us. And we went out there to compete. And I've mentioned this before. You had 2 Hall of Fame coaches, and Rick Pitino and also Mike Krzyzewski, and it just felt like they took a step back and let the players play. And as you guys both know, that can be difficult for some coaches, especially at the college level. I know, Lou, you never experienced that, but at the end of the day, a lot of coaches want to have their imprint on the game, and I think those 2 Hall of Fame coaches really stepped back and really allowed the players to have their own input on the game, which was, I call it was probably one of the best pickup games I ever played in. It was just a free-flowing, everybody was kind of in the zone, making plays, and but it was a great opportunity. Played in the old Philadelphia Spectrum, which is no longer around. So there's a lot of history attached to it. But every March I get the call, what about that Duke Kentucky game?
If he misses that shot, do you guys win the national championship?
I would say no. And the reason why I say no is because I don't think we were prepared. People don't realize how emotionally high and low we were in one setting. I think we would have faced, I want to say, would have been Cincinnati with Nick Van Exel, I think it was, or the Fab Five. And I don't think we were prepared for them coming out of that game. And then the following year, we went to the Final Four and lost against the Fab Five. So I don't think we would have won a championship. But I being in the Final Four, that would have been more impressive. But we weren't prepared to win a title at that particular point.
Why are you so wise about it? I feel like most people be like, yeah, no, we definitely would have won. Just keep it going.
Sometimes wisdom brings you back to reality. You know what I mean? So that's how I kind of position it. Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk about USA Basketball, the select team, which was the college guys, and you beat the 1992 Dream Team. So take us back. What's it like to step on that court, to look over there and see those guys and then beat them?
Well, for me, it was, and I would say for the rest of us, Chris Webber, Allen Houston, Rodney Rogers, Penny Hardaway, Allen Houston. I'm leaving a couple of guys off of it. During that particular time in the 90s and also in the 80s, all kids wanted to play in the Olympics. And that was one of my dreams, was to play in the Olympics. And I was disappointed that we didn't get that opportunity, but we got the call to practice against them. They shot us a bone and come and practice with us in La Jolla, San Diego. And our coach at the time, or the select team side, was Roy Williams. And he did a great job of just, reminding us that, they chose some other people, essentially, and to get the best out of the situation. So we stepped out in the court and we beat them the first day in the scrimmage. But they kicked our butt the rest of the 6 days. And the one thing I do remember is, when you go to the starting circle and the jump ball circle and you look over and you got Michael Jordan standing on one side, and then you got Scottie Pippen standing on another side, and then you got David Robinson jumping, and you got Magic Johnson yelling out call signals and stuff like that. It was intimidating, but also as a competitor and somebody that wanted to kind of see what it looked like, what the pros would feel like. It was also a litmus test to see where I was at. And I tell people that was the day I got drafted. It was, I came back to summer school. It was the end of my sophomore year. And then Coach Pitino called me in his office. He said, after your junior year, you're going to be turning pro. You're going to be no less than the 4th overall pick based upon how you perform. So I credit that sequence of events for me to get drafted, and also for me to realize that I could play at the professional level, because you have no idea. You're in college, you can speculate, you can think about it, but until you get in live action and see the speed and the power and what you're up against, it's really different.
It's just such a crazy visual, by the way. Okay, I have 2 follow-ups. Number one, did you guys run into Larry Bird at the hotel during any of this? Because everyone's always fascinated by what Larry Bird says to people. Did he say anything?
Yeah. So my man, Larry Bird, it was me and Chris Webber. We were coming into the hotel and we checked in. And as we were checking in at the front desk, they lead you down this hallway, and there's a security guard there that blocks off the passage for, regular people to come in. So NBA and USA Basketball had completely one floor. And so we're walking down this long hallway, and I say to Chris Webber, I say, man, that looks like Larry Bird. And the first thing you notice is how tall Larry Bird is. And he comes by and walks, he says, are you those college guys that we're competing against, we playing against? He's like, yeah, Mr. Bird. And he says, well, get some fucking rest. It's going to be a long week. And I'm like, wow. And, it's like, okay, you don't know what to say. It's like, this is Larry Bird. How do I take this? Am I insulted? You know what I mean? It's like,
nope.
Okay, Larry Bird, it's all good. So, but he was phenomenal. I mean, Larry Bird has always been one of my favorite players. And if you recall, he was dealing with back injuries at the end of his career, so he couldn't sit down. He had to lay down on the floor. And I remember a time it was the first day we beat them, and Rodney Rogers had said something to Larry Bird. He was like, you haven't hit a jump shot since 88 or something like that. And I think Magic heard it. So the next day, and Lou and Chandler, y'all can appreciate this. The old NBA was if something was working, keep going to it. And I remember Larry Bird actually on the sideline calling out, all right, Rodney, one dribble, pull up right. And he'll do it, make the basket. Next play now, Rodney, one dribble, pull up left. Oh, I'm going to the basket now, high off the glass, left hand. And it was remarkable how Magic Johnson and Larry Bird connected. And just on those conversations and different things like that and the competitiveness, it really showed me how special Larry Bird was, because if you can do that as an injured player, imagine how he was as a healthy player. So Larry's one of my all-time favorites.
It's like,
Lou, I can't imagine getting your ass busted and someone telling you how they're going to do it right before.
Correct.
And
Telling you exactly how they're going to do it.
Yeah.
hurtful.
And you can't do shit about it.
Yeah, can't do nothing about it. Can't do nothing about it. And the other thing I
Stuck on
remember
an
about
island.
that was how good Michael Jordan was. Because when we would practice with him, we would practice somewhere else, and then we would come in and watch them practice and then go scrimmage with them. And we would sit down and watch, and if you watched it and you knew nothing about basketball, you were like, Michael Jordan, that dude with the ball head is the best player out there. And I remember Charles Barkley singing that Gatorade commercial while we were playing the game, like everybody wants to be like Mike. And it was a phenomenal experience.
Oh, just such a good time as a basketball fan to be watching all this. All right, so Coach K went on to suggest later that perhaps maybe Chuck Daly threw the game. Is there any validity to that?
There's no. First of all, he was the assistant coach. You know what I mean? Let's keep that in mind. And there was no way. The thing that I do remember was that we beat them and they called the game. So we didn't even get a chance to finish. I think they called it in the middle of the third quarter or the fourth quarter or something like that. And they took the scoreboard. They took the score down when the press came in, and everybody did their interviews and different things like that. So I think he was probably referencing. I think that was more for glorify a story and their participation and different things like that. But everybody was competing on that floor. So I don't see how Coach Daly had that much control to tell anybody not to do something, because they were all playing. Michael was playing hard. All those guys were playing hard. So to me, that was a little false.
And you're describing the most competitive humans in the world.
I don't see a world you tell them guys to take it easy. Yeah. I don't see a scenario where you like, chill out, MJ. Let these guys get theirs off. Yeah, I don't see a world in that.
No, I think
I'd like to see
part
that,
of it. Yeah, I don't think it happened, but in the next 6 days, the intensity ratcheted up, and it was they were different. They were different. They were different for sure. Yeah.